She-Hulk is the first of the MCU shows to not debut in the top 10 list of streaming shows, making declining viewership of MCU content on Disney Plus increasingly worrying for the studio and very clear with regards to how people's interest in the MCU is waning, or more accurately, how the quality of the MCU is waning. And honestly, that sounds about right. I mean, I dare you to find someone out there whose last MCU experience was Avengers Endgame, and then show them this.
Taste it there. Num 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 num, eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1. You know I'm the hottest. You ain't never gotta heat me up.
Yup, that is the same MCU that made you cry for Tony Stark's death and gave you the beautiful send-off for Steve Rogers. They've come so far since you last watched Endgame, haven't they? Captain America would be so proud.
What? I see this as an absolute win.
The day before this episode came out, me and my brother talked about how Marvel don't even need to get darker, they just need to get more mature, and that will be a great start. And then the next day, we got this.
I will kill for you, Megan Thee Stallion.
I guess even being mature is asking for too much. I mean, DC and Fox's Marvel could both be comedic and mature at the same time, and even dark, but Marvel can't apparently. Well, the day we have been dreading is here. The MCU have taken Daredevil from Netflix, which was very much following the more gritty and grounded and adult crime drama template of the Dark Knight movies, and has now been reduced to the MCU toy commercial line, jokes and all.
Why didn't you tell me that before we fought?
Why didn't you ask me before immediately trying to whoop my ass?
It finally happened. Charlie Cox's Daredevil showed up in She-Hulk episode 8 of 9. What do you want to bet that Marvel advertised him in all the trailers but kept from showing him until the last second to keep people from exiting this show? It's like they knew that most people weren't going to stick around to watch this show, so we gotta keep them watching for something. How about we leech off of the success of a show that actually does know how to write rousing courtroom scenes? Daredevil. Our work is all done for us.
This is my city. My family.
And they still managed to screw it up. So yeah, Daredevil showed up in the MCU and the problems became immediately apparent. First off, the stunts. All of Daredevil's stunts were done with a stunt double in the Netflix series, and as the show progressed, even Charlie Cox started doing a considerable amount of the stunts himself too. The MCU, however, don't like stunts. They prefer to overwork their VFX artists because they can. So in She-Hulk, all of Daredevil's stunts were done with an obvious CGI double and accompanied with obvious green screens, and he doesn't look as cool as a result. He looks artificial. Seriously, every flip and jump was done with CGI. I think Daredevil had 2 or 3 shots where he wasn't CGI in this entire fight scene. Marvel were that excessive with this. Also, whenever you saw Daredevil on screen in the Netflix series, it always felt special. The way he was lit, the way he was shot, it always felt like you were watching a special kind of superhero whenever he was on screen. Something about his presentation always felt like he stood out, kind of like how Batman stands out for DC. But in this show, seeing him on screen doesn't feel special. He just comes across as another run-of-the-mill corporate MCU superhero. He is a diluted shell of the wonderfully crafted character that he was in the Netflix series. And what the hell kind of line is this?
My ass remains unwhooped.
That is a terrible line and a bad joke. Can you actually get paid for writing shit like this? He's not been in the show for a few seconds and already he is making bad jokes. He had humor in the Netflix series, but it felt unique to him. But here, he just feels like every other lighthearted MCU character. And it really pains me to see this. Charlie Cox is an incredible actor, and he tries to do the best with this material, but if the material on paper is this shit, then not even he can make it sound good. There are superhero movies and shows that are pushing the envelope and elevating comic book characters and stories to the next level. And all of these are so special. Stuff like the Dark Knight trilogy, Logan, The Boys, The Batman, Invincible, Joker, and Netflix's Daredevil was another one of those properties that was pushing the genre. Amongst the studio-manufactured superhero stuff, these were special. And Kevin Feige in the MCU took something special away and turned it into the same thing that they always make. And honestly, this is the last straw. Daredevil is something that was gift-wrapped to them, and they could have continued its success, but they just downgraded it into the safe schlock that they've been making for years. And it is devoid of any creativity and just shows how Marvel is not willing to change their ways and make something special. They are just making generic superhero stuff. Now, defenders of the MCU keep saying, She-Hulk is a comedy sitcom, so Daredevil can be more comedic in this. Well, I completely disagree. The show should have stuck with his darker tone and brought him into the lighter She-Hulk show. Honestly, that's what makes comic book crossovers so much fun. The fact that the characters are so different and you see them react off of each other. Honestly, the best crossover to accomplish this was the animated Justice League show and even Turtles Forever, where my generation of the Ninja Turtles were reacting to the goofier 80s Ninja Turtles and the much goofier world that they had.
Our little alien Utrom is back!
Utrom Shredder? Sounds Swedish.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Can't you guys be serious about anything?
But with Charlie Cox's Daredevil, they took him out of his show and just made him adapt to the goofiness of She-Hulk's show.
I'm Daredevil.
And that's just dumb and a downright mishandling of the character. Batman and Superman are two of the most iconic duos in all of comic books, and they couldn't be more different. They are polar opposites of each other, and that's what makes their interactions so fun. You don't have Batman become much lighter like Superman when he comes to Metropolis, you keep him dark and faithful to his own character, and that's what makes their encounters with each other so much fun, that their personality types don't mesh. And what makes it even more fun is how a super dark character like Batman moves over from Gotham into Metropolis. Metropolis has its problems, but is significantly less corrupt, and their criminals are not as demented as they are in Gotham, and when Batman shows up, the city is in shock. Who the hell is this Batman? And he's striking fear into the hearts of criminals. He's leaving criminals in these brutalized states. Look, we don't know how Gotham operates, but here in Metropolis, we don't allow that kind of vigilantism. Batman and his methods really stand out to Metropolis, and it's fun to watch a much lighter city react to such a darker superhero. That's how the dynamic should be when Daredevil crosses over into She-Hulk and her city. That's what the interaction should be exploring in this crossover. But no, he's in a lighter show, so that means he's gotta be lighter too. I don't know why Marvel ignored this concept, because even the CW acknowledged the darker character when Arrow crossed. Marvel didn't do that with Daredevil, because we're the MCU. We don't give a shit if you are Daredevil. You're becoming a comedian like the rest, whether you like it or not. We'll give people a couple of scenes where you're not joking. Maybe you could hit someone hard once or twice, and then our fans will say that we treated you with respect and kept you serious and brutal. We'll change your color to one of the costumes in the comics, we'll give Kingpin a cane, then people will just accept anything we give them and make excuses for it, because they think we are being so comics accurate, and then they will call Kevin Feige a genius. We own Star Wars now, remember? We've learned the way of the mind trick, and unfortunately, it will only work on the weak-minded. At this point, if you accept these kind of lighthearted character changes, it just feels like mindless brand loyalty. I dare you guys to watch the hallway fight in season 2 and 3 of Daredevil after you have seen him in She-Hulk, and just see how much better Daredevil was in his own show, even down to the spectacular filmmaking, as opposed to the lazy Disneyfied version of him we got in the MCU. I hate how blind MCU supporters say, oh my god, they gave him a hallway fight. Yeah, but how was it? Are you that simple that all the MCU have to do is just put him in a hallway and that's it? The hallway fights were done in these long one-shot takes in the 3 Netflix seasons, and they each got significantly better. The 3rd season did an over 11-minute long take with action and dialogue, but in She-Hulk, we'll just put him in a hallway and our MCU fans will love it because they're that easy to please. It really does surprise me that people are actually impressed with this quick and lazy shit, and I feel like Marvel are sneakily taking advantage of that. This is my problem with the MCU. They have grown so big that they now have the darker characters. Characters like Blade, Daredevil, the Punisher, and although we seem to be getting an R-rated Deadpool 3, well, that risk was already taken by another studio, and it paid off. If anything, it would be a bigger risk not to make the character rated R. The MCU need to take their own risks to prove that they actually have a backbone, and unfortunately, the risks that they are taking feel like they don't go all the way, and they always seem to find a way to retreat back to their safe space, which is comedy. They don't seem to commit, which is probably why Blade is going through so much trouble right now, and even Mahershala Ali is starting to get frustrated. Fox were committing before Disney bought them out. DC have been and still are committing with their movies and their shows, making them super hard PG-13 or even rated R. But Marvel, they are still making more and more comedies. When they want to get more serious, they'll put out a spy espionage project, another one, but they are just spinning their wheels at this point. Charlie Cox's Daredevil was my favorite Marvel character after Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and to have him turn into this MCU-ified kid-centric character who acts just like the rest of their comedic characters is honestly my worst nightmare. And Marvel have made a lot of comedic movies, even turning Thor from a super tragic character into a freaking idiot, and I've criticized them for it, but this, honestly, this one hurt. This really did hurt. Here's my idea of how they could have used Matt Murdock on Daredevil effectively. Blonsky has a court trial where he can be released from prison. She-Hulk is for, Matt Murdock is against. There. That is how I would have used Matt Murdock in She-Hulk, which is supposed to be a law firm show. That would have been my through line for the majority of this show. And behind the scenes, there could be an agenda brewing that connects to Blonsky's release, which could involve witness tampering and other potential crimes for whoever wants Blonsky out of prison. Daredevil and She-Hulk eventually team up to figure out what it is, and neither of them know the other's identity. Therefore, they are both competing against each other in court as their secret identities, and are helping each other as their vigilante counterparts, and having them eventually find out the other's identity as the show nears its conclusion. And that's just from the top of my head. But no, the page writers came up with this instead.
Wait, why were you attacking my client?
Leapfrog is the bad guy here. He kidnapped Luke Jacobson. He's holding him hostage. I'm Daredevil.
Well, it is very daring to use ketchup and mustard as your color scheme.
If you are a bad writer, go apply for a job at the MCU. They'll hire you in a heartbeat. Another trailer has come out, this time the Super Mario Bros. Movie, where Mario is voiced by Chris Pratt. When I heard that, I found that very bizarre, but let's see how he does, and let's see if this looks worse than the 90s live-action Mario Bros. Movie, although I seriously doubt it.